Good morning, everybody out there in Facebook land. Thank you for joining us today. This is our morning call, Compassionate Talk. And today is about compassionate communication for couples. And I'm coming to you live from California, and Candice is with me from the East Coast. Which state are you in, Candice?
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. So today is going to be a deep dive, and you're going to walk away with tips and tools and some techniques on how to stay compassionately connected with each other, even in times of challenge. And so this is brought to you by, like I said, Paul Sterling. I have a website and courses called Argue Less, Love More. That's my best-selling book. Scott Katamas from Love Coach Academy is also a sponsor for this call. We do these, we alternate 9 in the morning, 6 o'clock at night, and Debbie G from Spirituality Gone Wild. And we also have a bunch of different love coaches that volunteer and join us to help you have better communication and connection during these challenging times. So I would love it if you would make comments in the comment sheet there where you're calling in from. Oh, Mr. Scott Katamas is saying good morning. He is, like I said, one of the co-founders here, and he runs something called Love Coach Academy. And he not only does he coach couples, but he teaches people how to become a love coach. And that academy is quite powerful. So check in from wherever you are. And then also, I teach a course called the Couples Course with Heidi Love. And if you'll see behind me, I'm a bit of the mad professor here. I'm just going to show you the screen behind me. Then we'll check in with Candice. But this is from a course we just taught last weekend. These are the 7 essential relationship skills that you need to create a remarkable relationship. You want a remarkable relationship, you need remarkable relationship skills. And then right here, this is what is running your relationship. It's called your ROS, your relationship operating system. So we'll dive into that a little bit also. But before we dive any further, I'd like to check in with Candice and hear, how did you get into this? And let me bring you back on the screen. You are now back on screen. Okay.
All right. Can you hear me? Something happened with my sound.
I can hear you just fine.
All right. Great. I'll put this down. But I'm very happy to be here with the Mad Professor and Scott tuning in from behind the scenes. I feel like it's for me, both of you are mentors and coaches. I am on the path with Love Coach Academy. I've been on the path of coaching people and being in service, since the age of 21 in a multitude of ways. And if you want to learn more about what I do and what I've done, you can look up Temple of Frolic. But right now, I'm really active with Love Coach Academy and all the amazing stuff that Paul just shared with you, and definitely link up and link in. And I'm excited to talk with you guys this morning as a single person who is still, learning and loves helping others learning these tools. As a newly blind person, I am getting a real deep understanding of the power of having the tools and not having the tools, and getting rid of shame and judgment around that.
So let me back up. You said newly blind, and it's like, if people don't know that, it's not obvious from watching you on camera, at least most of the time, that you are blind. So we would have no idea. So what are some of the tools? And the reason I'm asking you is I want people to understand that for every situation, you need new tools. And we're in a situation right now that we've never been in. The whole social distancing, the challenges, it put couples under immense pressure. In fact, I've never been busier. Since this whole social distancing happened, I've only taken 3/4 of a day off, basically. My partner's birthday, which was a little while ago, we just went through that. So, what are some of the tools that you've learned or needed, Candice? And then let's dive into communication tools.
Hmm. So, for a long time, and with just going blind, all of a sudden, all these things I was able to do just by using my eyes, I could no longer do. And it takes I was logically aware that I have to learn these tools, that yes, there's going to be some loss, and I've lost some access point, and it's just going to take me somewhere out. There's no book, there's no download on this is how you do it blind. It's going to take time. But I did spend a lot of the last 2 years running Story and shaming and judging myself for not having the tools, not knowing how to do this as a blind person. And now reframing that and loving myself, like, wow, yeah, you just don't know, and getting the tools, like I am, and now finding that peace when I don't know how to do something. And in relationship to relationships and being single, like, this is coming up for me heavy right now. I've been feeling some loneliness, and it's bringing up the stories of, because I'm blind and I don't know how to be blind. Like, I was good in relationship before, but now I don't know how to do this, And so I run some stories around being less than because I don't know how or don't have the tools, instead of, let me find an access way. Or sometimes I was talking with another blind friend about this, Randy, that's joined us for the calls. Sometimes it's like, I have the tools, like technology, right? Or I want to play a game. I can use like 5 different apps to access this thing and make myself be able to do this thing. But holy crap, is that a lot of work? Is it fun for me anymore? Is it enjoyable? Do I really need to? Um, and I think the same thing goes for what tools work for us and what tools do we need for each individual application. A hammer does not work to screw in a screw. You don't go to a dentist to get a haircut. Um,
So
reality and story.
let's type Candice. Thank you.
Oh,
And
I did the buffet thing again.
no, I want to just tie people in to go. This is a perfect metaphor. What Candice was just talking about. Something new is happening in her life, and something new is happening with people in relationships. And a lot of times in relationships, we do the exact same thing that you were talking about, Candice. We beat ourselves up for not having the tools already, because in the world, we think that we're supposed to know how to do relationships. We were taught how to talk, so we think we know how to communicate. And when you get in the world of relationship, you're not learning a new language, but you're learning how to use language in a new way. You're learning the language of relationships. And the language of relationships is feelings, needs, requests. It's learning how to come from the heart. And in a lot of ways, when it comes to relationships, we feel blind. We feel like we're walked into this room like everybody else knows what to do but us. So today, what I want you to think about is what one of the key tools, and I was showing the toolbox over here, but these are the 7 core problems. On the other side is, let me see if I can show that, the 7 core skills. One of the core skills is what we're using right now, communication. It's one of the most important tools in our relationship toolbox. And it's what I want you to think about today, and I'm going to bounce back to you in a second, Candice, is what shuts you down, what opens you up, what causes you to lean in and want to hear your partner, and what pushes you away from the communication. So we'd love to hear, like on the chat box, what are the biggest challenges you have when it comes to communication in a relationship, and especially under these stressful times? And so, yes, I'm talking mostly about romantic relationships, but that's not the only thing. We have relationships with our kids, with our parents, with our roommates, with the world right now, with ourselves. So Candice was saying you're single and you're a lot by yourself right now. So that creates a lot of pressure. And I want to ask, how has your communication with yourself changed since you started learning these tools?
um, I feel like I've had access to these tools for, a long time. I feel like a lot of this is very innate, but learning how to use them and learning, like I was saying, the proper tool for the proper occasion, and having assistants, having the right coaches, having, like I said, not going to a dentist for a haircut, um, is yeah. And one of the other, for me as a blind person, when I thought about that question, I was thinking about a lot of assumptive communication that happens. So I've in many situations often where someone with vision is communicating to the best of their degree, but also there's a layer level of assumption based on I should be able to read their body language or their face and stuff like that. Which I don't. I need very clear, communication, and it's just so common for us to communicate with a lot of assumption, and it's very hard for me when I'm reading into things a little bit too much as a blind person, because I'm picking up on the emotion and the energy. Like I say, you can hide an object from me, but you can't hide your feelings, but I can't make other people see what I see, and they don't have the tools, and
Well, you were talking about body language is one of the three core things. It's the words we use, the tone, and the body language. And with so many different experiments, the words are the least important. And you're having to rely more on the words and the tonality, because the tonality is often what carries emotions. And it's learning how to enter somebody else's world so that they feel heard, understood, and valued. And hi, Della. And if you have any questions about relationships and communication and how do you stay compassionate and how do you deal with different issues, definitely put them in the chat box. So I'm going to tell a quick story, and then we're going to bounce back in to the communication tools. I was teaching at one point. For 8.5 years, I created a program where I taught prison inmates about compassionate communication and belief systems and stuff like that. And I was headed there one morning, and I had breakfast, and I had a piece of bacon stuck in my teeth. And it was driving me crazy. And the further I drove, the more crazy it drove me. And finally, I'm tried with my fingernail to get the bacon out of my teeth. And if you ever had anything that irritates you, and the more the more you scratch it, the worse it gets. So I decided to try a business card, and I wedged the business card in between my teeth, and then it got wet. And then it broke off in my teeth. So now I have bacon and business cards stuck in my teeth, and it drives me really crazy. And so why I'm telling you this story is if you use the wrong tool, oftentimes, no matter how hard you work, you make it worse. And the more I tried the wrong tool, the worse it got. And in relationships, it's the same thing. A lot of times we hear this thing, if we could only communicate, Nope. A lot of times when you communicate, you make it worse unless you have the right tools. So finally, I pulled over. I have this little toothpick. I found not this toothpick. I haven't saved it, but a toothpick a lot like this. And in about 5 seconds, I was able to get the bacon out from my teeth. Now, how that applies is when we teach couples and individuals these tools, they could have had an argument, an issue, a fight that has lasted them years where they go over the same issue over and over again and they never resolve it because they don't have the right tools. They don't have effective tools. And I almost hate to use the word right because then they're applied wrong, but it's like what's effective and what's not effective. And one of the things that we're trying to do is in a relationship, there's one main reason to be in a relationship. And type in your answer over there in the chat box. What's the number one reason to be in a relationship? And people will have different answers, I'm sure of it. But the number one reason to be in a relationship is to get your needs met. And so in a second, I'm going to bounce to Candice and talk about needs because it's become, I'm guessing for you, your needs have become much more focused. I don't know exactly how to say it, but you know, when we can get our needs met all by ourselves, sometimes we communicate them clearly, sometimes not. Sometimes we just go and get them met. But like for you, what's the different relationship you have now with your needs and with making requests around them?
So one of the things that's coming loud and clear to me right now is the value of what we're doing right now and how it's such a huge missing link. You know, we're not brought into a world where we're educated and given the tools. It's if there was relationship class starting in kindergarten, you know, if we learned this then, holy shit, what a different world. Because like, this is our baseline to get our needs met. What are we in relationship for? Well, how the hell do we do relationship? How do we, you know? And yes, my needs have gotten really big. I feel like, you know, I've been in this world prior to being blind of helping people learn how to communicate and love coaching and all this stuff. And I used to be like really strong. Like I used to feel like I was too much. I asked for too much and I need, you know, I was really good at it, you know, and I'm relearning how to love myself and go to the appropriate teacher or find the appropriate tool and not creating story around it. Because once I go into that story, I lose access. It's the story that keeps me from being able to access the tool or know how to use the tool as well. And seeing the sweet innocence of like this big need for knowing how to communicate as a human.
Yeah, and what you just mentioned is critical, and it's really if you want intimacy with another human being, understanding their story and your story, and not as a bad thing, because our stories are our world. And if you think about it, this is I talked about, I've got a chart behind me, a triangle with 3 squares, one in each corner of the triangle. So in the bottom corner is results. So people come to Love Coach Academy or come to my coaching, they want a different result in their relationship. So what causes results is taking action. So results is in the lower left corner, actions is in the lower right corner. There's an arrow between the two. So if you want a different result, you have to take different actions in the relationship. And what we want to think about is our habits and patterns. We get into habits and patterns of how we communicate. And we're looking at what are the habits and patterns that bring you together rather than driving you apart. What connects you? And what controls the actions we take or don't take is our beliefs. And beliefs are stories that we have told ourselves with certainty over time. We all have different stories about what something means. A story about the way your partner looked at you, a story about this, a story about that, the story, I'm guessing, Candice, you've already said it today, there was different stories you had about going blind. What did that mean? And whether you're really upset with it or not upset with it depends on what? The story you're telling yourself or the story we're telling ourselves. And it's important, if you want to enter somebody else's world, is to be able to understand their story with compassion. And when we're communicating, we want three things. We want to be heard, understood, and valued. And one of the things that creates understanding is understanding somebody's story without trying to correct them, without telling them how they should or shouldn't feel, without trying to fix them. Because anytime you try to fix somebody, you create resistance, resentment, regret. People lean away rather than lean in to the communication. So, Candice, what causes you to lean in and lean out? What causes you to want to open up and hear what people have to say? And what causes you to shut down in communication? And I want everybody here to be going through this together, because this is not just about Candice. This is Candice and I having the conversation. I want you to be thinking about what causes you to lean in or what causes you to lean out, what causes you to open up in communication, and what kind of communication shuts you down. This is critical if you want an open, honest relationship. So, Candice, what opens you up? What shuts you down when it comes to communication?
I feel like that's a long list, but one of the key points around this for me is just as much as, taking the time to get to know what my story is, getting familiar with my story so I can effectively be within that or communicate that with whomever I am relating to, to clear through any misunderstandings and create a container of empathy. If I can empathize with myself and understand myself, I feel like that's one of my big things, is I'm really having to get comfortable with the story I run around my needs in order for me to be able to effectively communicate with others around my needs.
What is empathy? Because we use this word a lot, especially in the world of nonviolent communication. Marshall Rosenberg, the Love Coach Academy, something Scott Katamis is amazing at doing and teaching people is the ability to give and receive empathy. But most people have a different meaning for it. So what would be your definition of empathy?
I love breaking it down. Empathy is that place of, I would say, balance to resonance. It's a non-judgmental, inviting, sensitive place. Some people would say it's not sympathy, it's not pity, it's in between, it's not apathy. And then another way I look at it, there's a huge world of people that identify as empaths. And when you look at what that means in that level of awareness and sensitivity, that's the level of awareness we're trying to create in an empathetic container, or when we're trying to hold I use the word empathetic, too. That's what, empathy means, being empathic, being an empath. Some people, it's a constant chronic state of being that they don't know how to navigate. And then some of us are like, we'll try to master it, and it is, it's a sweet spot.
Yeah, one of the ways I describe it and why it's so critical in relationships. And when I'm talking about relationships now, I'm talking about whether you're a parent or a roommate or a lover or a kid. Empathy is the ability to enter somebody else's world so that they feel heard, understood, and valued. And the other part of it is like there's an intellectual empathy. Like if I can feed back what I think I heard Candice say, intellectually, I got it. So there's empathy from my mind, and I'm showing. I've got my little Einstein bobblehead in front of me. So that's when I'm communicating from my head. Empathy from my heart is like I have a visceral, I have a feeling when I hear the story. It's like, no wonder if my partner's upset with me because well, right now I'll just be transparent. I've been working really hard because there's a lot of couples in pain, and I've been coaching them from around the world. And I have not been as good at keeping my time agreements with my partner as I normally am. I'd say I'm going to go up to the office. I'll be done in a half an hour, and 2 hours later, I come down. And and she's really compassionate with me and stuff. And sometimes she can be hurt. And rather than me defending myself, I enter her world and I listen from my heart. And I'm holding up a little heart with arms that can hold you. So when your partner is in pain, you have a choice of fixing them or being there compassionate with them. And so rather than talk too much about it, what I'd love to do, Candice, is I'd love to give an example, if possible, like a quick role play of showing people the 3 different ways. Because one was me communicating from my head, logic, reason, me communicating from my heart, emotional connection, and me communicate from my reptile brain, like attack. And so if you're willing to do this, if you could express something, and I'm going to respond the 3 different ways and we'll interact with it. Maybe something that you have some pain around.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna tell the story that I'm running. So I'm feeling really lonely, and like I'm single and not liking being single, and that because I'm blind and I don't know how to do this, I'm not so good at relating anymore.
Well, listen, why don't I tell you about 6 different things other people have done? And by the way, Candice, you can lean forward if you feel connected, lean back if you don't. So, and everybody out there, I want you to think. Now, this Candice and I are doing this role play, but I want you to think about for yourself when you express your pain, what does your partner do? Or what do you do when your partner expresses their pain? So right now, I'm offering Candice, I'm like, well, listen, I can give you some websites where you can probably get on, or you can, here's 6 things you can try that will work for you. So what am I doing? I'm trying to what? Fix her.
Yeah, it's very logical and heady, and I felt I felt a wall go up inside myself when I heard that. Like you weren't there anymore.
Right. And here this is a challenging thing because it's sometimes hard for me to be with someone else's pain. So, Candice, can you say that again? And I'll try another shot.
I'm lonely. I don't like being single right now. And I'm scared that this is my forever. And I don't like the stories that I'm running that are making me believe this crap.
Wow. So I just need a chunk at a time. And thank you for sharing that with me. And I'm guessing it can feel lonely and almost a little hopeless at times. And there's a story in your head that this could be forever. Is this the rest of my life?
I feel heard. I my heart opens. I feel safe to cry. Um, and I feel an invitation that you're here if there was more, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. And the magic words, rather than offering her a suggestion or a remedy, the magic words would be like, tell me more. And intimacy is about being able to be with your partner's pain without trying to fix them, fight with them, flee from them. How can I be with Candice? The more that I can be with her and what she's feeling is alive right now, the more intimate the connection is. And I'm talking about emotional intimacy.
Yeah, I just got a thought. Like we're talking about the logical response, responding from the head, and then responding from the heart. Now, say I was in relationship with someone and I shared that with them, and they responded from their sex center. And like I've had this happen, you know, and then they just try to really show up for me sexually and make me forget about the fact that I have emotional needs or needs that aren't being met in the relationship. You know, I was just thinking that's another response that could happen that I could see it's a little bit of fixing as well as heart, but it's still like I would close off. I wouldn't be receptive to that. And I know that can be a response.
Well, I said there's three places we're communicating from: our head,
Yeah.
our heart, and I'm showing my little dinosaur, our reptile brain, our hurt. So would you be willing to do that one more time? And so people get an idea, and it's like I'm a little nervous even doing this, but this is a normal sort of response that happens. So
I'm feeling really lonely and scared. This is my forever, and not liking the stories, but believing them and struggling with loneliness.
well, I've been lonely too. What do you want me to do about it? I'm in California. You're in New Hampshire. I don't, this whole conversation making me uncomfortable, and I don't know why you're putting your needs on me. I can't even meet my own needs right now. I'm locked in the house. I'm social distancing. What's wrong? I mean, like, why are you telling me this?
So I laughed because that was great and funny, but at the same time, like my authentic response inside is like, wow, they're hurting. Holy shit, I just opened up a door and I can't be seen or heard because they have some stuff and we got to go there. So my stuff just disappeared.
Yeah. And hold on one second. And people, I really, everybody take a breath. That was really normal in so many communications. I exaggerated it, and I knew that Candice could handle it, and I still feel a little uncomfortable and want to spend a moment, you know. So, and I want to ask Candice, I was doing this as a role play, but how many times do you feel like you've gotten that reaction from people because of your pain?
Oh, a lot. And then it wakes up my fixer. You know, I was like, oh, how sweet. Oh, how can I help you? You know, it just the role just immediately switches inside me. And as a blind person, you know, some people see me as really needy. And I get a lot of people that have a hard time with the empathy space they go into the hurt response and or pity. I get sympathy and pity. I get a lot of that. Or the comparing, you know, they start comparing. And it's not a neutral ground, you know, we're not meeting in the middle anymore.
Right. And Love Divine says, I appreciate that other perspective, Candice, when we express ourselves and our partner responds to our pain from their sex center versus acknowledging our emotional needs. So there's many different ways that we become uncomfortable. So you said needs and needy, and I want to jump there in a second, but it's like if I call it maleitis. It's not just separate. It's not just for men. Women get this too, especially like single moms, people who have to get shit done. They respond with like trying to fix it. And so if you come to them in pain, their response is their normal default is it's either my fault or my responsibility. So what do you want? Like, let's get with it. Let's fix this. Let's get it done. And so there's different ways that we fix, fight, or flee. And one of the things that you brought up is the sexual energy. We can go to alcohol, sex, TV, all these different ways because I can't be with your pain. And if you want to have an amazing, intimate relationship, it's the ability to be with your partner's pain. If you want to have an intimate relationship with yourself, it's also about your ability to be with your own pain. If you can't feel it, you have a hard time healing it. So we're all wounded on this planet. This is a planet of the wounded. And we either get bitter or we get better. The more wounded we are, the more triggerable we are, the less fun we are to be around. So what we're doing, if you think about Love Coach Academy or the course that I'm doing, the couples course, it's about going to the relationship gym and doing emotional push-ups so that you can clear up your past, connect and get present, and have possibilities for the future. And I started this conversation, and then Candice, I'm going to bounce to you on that term needy and needs. But one of the things I said years ago, I'd spend 8.5 years, I'd go in once a month, and I would teach prison inmates about communication skills. And Candice, you had said that, we should teach this in school. I so agree. At one point, I was teaching a maximum security group of inmates. And I was, I'm in an area where I'm there without any guards. I've got 20 inmates that have anywhere from intense drug dealers to murderers to whatever. And when they're leaving, I'm standing there, saying goodbye to them. And one of these guys stops next to me and I can see him like out of my peripheral vision. And he starts backing up. And I'm like, I'm on alert. I'm a little nervous in there. And he stops and he comes back to me and he looks at me and goes, Paul, if I had learned this stuff in school, I wouldn't have spent 20 years in prison. If I had learned this stuff in school, I wouldn't have spent 20 years in prison. And if you look at the cost to him, the cost to society, the cost to his family, it's like that is the cost we pay for not knowing how to really communicate compassionately, communicate from our hearts, to make friends with our feelings and make friends with our needs, to make our needs precious versus a burden. Because in our culture, a lot of times, and in relationships, we feel like needs are a burden, and there's need shame. And if it's need shame, basically is if I was a whole and complete person, I wouldn't have needs. Needs means I'm broken and I'm ashamed of them and I have to come beg for them. Or I'm embarrassed about my needs and I don't want to be vulnerable and I don't want to have to ask for them. And if you don't read my mind and meet my needs without me asking, you don't love me. So, Candice, what's your relationship with needs and needy? What's your story around that term needy?
Oh God, I've been running a story about it my entire life. I think it was very easy for me. I've always been very sensitive and emotional. I wasn't blind, my entire life. But I was a sick kid as well. I had a hole in my heart for the first year of my life, and nobody knew it was wrong. And then I had open heart surgery, and I was really sick. I was literally a very needy child, an only child of three parents that were also very ill to their own degrees of emotional and mental, spiritual illness. So I've always felt very needy. And I got really good and comfortable and, finding the power in expressing my needs and getting my needs met and healing the wounds that tell me I'm not worthy or I'm too much. And yeah, now I'm having to do a whole nother layer and level of work around that. Like literally just, so my mom is staying with me. It was supposed to end in April, but now Corona has changed that. And there's so many things that I could be doing. So basic thing, Amazon, get ordering stuff online. And I just have to ask her to sit down and type in some information for me. But it's so hard because I feel like I asked her to live with me. I need her to do this. I need her to do that. It's freaking hard, man, to just be like that big need machine, and trying to contribute and feel like I'm contributing and balancing. And yeah, I'm still learning. And holy shit, man, the school, for relationships. Yes, please.
Well, and I want to separate out something for people that are listening in relationships. There is a difference between a need and a strategy and a request. So if you think about what Candice just said for Amazon, it's like the need is not filling out the form. The need is support. She needed support. And then the request is, would you be willing to enter information? Would you be willing to, like, whatever it is that she thinks will meet that need? So the need for support, the need, and Candice, you said you have a strong need to contribute. And most of the people on Love Coach Academy on these calls, that's why Scott Katamas and Debbie G and me put this program together. And if you're just getting on, every morning at 9 a.m. West Coast time, every evening at 6 o'clock West Coast time, we run these calls. And there are a wide variety of speakers talking about basically how do we stay compassionately connected to each other and ourselves on the planet, communication things. How do you communicate with couples? That's my focus. How do you communicate with your kids, your family, yourself, with friends? How do you deal with recovery when you don't have your groups like AA or Al-Anon or all the rest of that? We've got a group to deal with that. So what we're trying to do is help meet our needs to contribute. And Candice, that seems like a beautiful need of yours. And by the way, hi, Victor. I don't know where you're calling in or tapping in from, but I've seen you around on Facebook, and I think we're even friends. So welcome, Victor. And if you've got any relationship questions, let us know. We've got maybe about 10 more minutes. So
But we could check in after, right? Like I go in after if people watch the playback and something comes up for them, they could still comment and then we could see it and be there for them later too, right?
Absolutely. And if you have friends that are having communication issues or just want to take their communication to the next level, there's definitely different ways to do that. One of the things, I'm going to bring up a banner right now, which is I work with couples. Whoops, the banner was there and now it's gone. Magic technology. There we go. Argue Less, lovemore.net support. That is a way that you can get personalized, private relationship coaching, get clear. What are the issues? What are the options? What actions you take? And what skills, like the 7 core skills over there, what skills do you need to master to create a remarkable relationship, because almost everybody says they want a remarkable relationship, but not that many people go out and master the skills. So if you want a remarkable relationship, you need remarkable relationship skills. So Candice, what do you consider the difference between having needs, which is everybody, and this term needy, which we often use as a shame-based way of talking about needs? Like, it's rarely a compliment when somebody goes, "You're so needy."
You know, I was just thought that I don't see any other reason or way. Why do we use the word needy? There's no non-shame based way. Like for me, when I think about it, I just want to get rid of that word from my vocabulary. Needs. Yeah, we all have needs. We are all needy to a certain degree, and the shame factor around it, I think maybe if we just get rid of it out of our language and use the word needs and reframe and rewrite the story, it'd probably be much less shame.
It is. And like I said at the beginning of this, there's only one reason to be in a relationship, is to get your needs met. And the more that you can understand, and there's Marshall Rosenberg, who created nonviolent communication, he had a list of over 100 needs. Tony Robbins, who was my mentor and my boss, he had a list that he does that are 6 universal needs that everybody has. And then I have the top 10 needs that I talk about. And it's making friends with those needs. And when you stop getting those needs met, your relationship is over. So it's learning how to notice, name, and negotiate your needs. And if you don't think you're needy, like we're all needy, I give you a task. Enter Candice's world for an hour. Blindfold yourself for an hour and walk around the house and try to get shit done. And you will find that your world changes. I did this cross-country skiing one time. We were doing this thing, Ski for Life, where you partner up with a blind person and you cross-country ski. And what I wanted to do before I led somebody who didn't have sight, I wanted to enter their world. So I spent about an hour blindfolded skiing. So I knew sort of knew what it was like. So I knew how to communicate. And if you don't think you're needy, it's just because you're getting your needs met at this moment. And when you stop getting them met, the needs come to the surface. And the better our relationship with our needs, the easier it is to communicate them. So what are your precious, beautiful needs? Thinking about that, we all have a need for love and intimacy. We have a need for certainty, for variety, for connection, for intimacy. And there's 3 kinds of intimacy. We have a need for emotional, physical, sexual intimacy. And I'm talking about this is in relationships. And so it's good to kind of do your relationship push-ups, go to the relationship gym, become friends with your needs, and learn how to make requests around them. So Candice, anything else on that?
I had something and I lost it. No, I just, I guess I do want to chime in about the new show, Triggers to Treasures, every Tuesday morning that myself and 3 other coaches are doing. It's very much in alignment with what we're talking about, really transforming our life experience and our relationship and to these parts of life that there's so much shame and challenge into treasures and gifts. Yeah.
And it's an amazing thing. It's a set of tools. So I'm going to just close.
I remembered.
Go for it.
Okay, when you said that you blindfolded yourself to do that, my heart just like, wow. You know, to me, that's empathy, that's intimacy, that's into me see. I'll never forget, I had a partner once, and I don't like being blindfolded. It's a big stretch for me. I've done it at events when I felt safe, and I had certain needs. I needed to be met by the container for me to feel safe with the blindfold. But when I had a partner that let me guide her with a blindfold, I was like, oh my God, you get it now. Like, into me seeing, you just really showed me how valuable that is for me personally, for someone to spend some time with me in my world. So thank you for that. Yes.
Yeah, and I hadn't talked about that in a while, but it was a very unique experience. And what happened for the guy that we ended up guiding, and he was thinking of quitting the program, the Ski for Light, I think it was called. And there's about each year 100 people that were handicapped, and 100 people they'd be paired up. And he had been blind since birth. So his emotional, his physical expressions weren't the same as ours, because he hadn't learned the facial expressions and learned a lot of these things because he never saw them. So people just wrote him off. When we entered his world, it totally changed the way he thought of the program, and he became a lifetime member, and he felt gotten. And see, this is the thing that's so critical when you're listening to your partner communicate. What they want is they want to get gotten, and that will stop conflict and upset and everything, like in a heartbeat. What we're trying to do is get gotten. And I'm going to show the 7 core skills that people need to go through to master in relationships. So the 7 problems are on this side. The 7 solutions are on this side. I'm going to read them out. So number 1 problem, non-effective communication. Number 1 solution is to learn how to become effective in your communication. And NVC, nonviolent communication, is one of the core things to learn. And you're not going to just pick this up. This is not normal communication. It's like saying, I'm going to pick up flying an airplane, or I'm going to pick up dentistry. No, you go to school for those things. The second thing is, when your needs aren't being met, that creates a huge gap in the relationship. So making friends with your needs so you can communicate them and make requests. Fear of conflict, that's an ongoing growth curve for me. I don't like conflict, but how do I take conflict and turn it into connection with my partner? Number 4 is wounds and triggers, and that's what Candice was talking about. Is triggers to treasures is one of the talks that they're doing, and it's like, how do you make friends with your trigger? What's a beautiful message in there? And so when we're all get wounded, if you've ever been in a relationship, had your heart broken, you've been wounded. And I'm going to put at the bottom here a course that's coming up. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. So we either get bitter or better. Broken trust, there's 2 types of trust. Either trusting somebody else. I trust your word. I trust that you're going to have my back. I trust that you're going to try to meet my needs and my boundaries. The more important trust is, do I trust me in a relationship with you? That's the whole world of codependence. Will I break my boundaries? Will I give up on my needs in order to be around you? So that's skill number 5. Skill number 6 is how do you deal with lost intimacy? You understand the 3 shades of intimacy: emotional, physical, and sexual intimacy. And the last one, especially critical right now, is dealing with differences, difficulties, and decisions. How are you going to make decisions? And with this whole coronavirus, there's a bigger challenge. Like, oh, I want to go for a walk. I want to go do something. Well, that's me. I'm my independent self. And when there wasn't a coronavirus out there, I wouldn't even have to have a conversation with my partner. I'm leaving. I'm going to go out and eat. I'm going to go do something. I'll see you later. Now with the virus, there's a possibility of more impact on your partner, on your relationship. So we have to practice making decisions, dealing with our differences and our difficulties in relationships. When you look at your habits, patterns, and beliefs, are they supporting having a great relationship, a remarkable relationship, or are they sabotaging it? So last week, Heidi and I did this amazing course called the Couples Course, and we're going to do it again June 6th. So if you want to know more about the Couples Course, Argue Less, Love More, .net/course. And in that course, we're going to go through the 7 skills and your ROS, your relationship operating system.
Is that just for couples?
No, we had a lot of, thank you, Candice. We had a lot of singles there also, because you learn your skills. When is it best to work on your relationship skills? Sometimes when you're not in a relationship, when you're not all triggered and upset, like before you get in a relationship. So Candice, anything you want to say here in closing, and before I even say that, thank you. I learned so much each time I teach with you, and it's an amazing thing to watch how you navigate the world.
Thank you. I'm really enjoying this journey, getting to know you. I feel like we're having a really sweet, intimate moment. Like I just saw another part of you, and I'm appreciating getting to know the mad professor. And yeah, there's like a saying comes to my mind a lot. I don't know where it comes from, but pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. And these are the tools we can use to lessen the suffering.
Yeah. And see, the thing is, there's skills, like have the right tools. If you have effective tools, if I'm using like my electric drill and I'm trying to do dentistry, it's not a bad tool. It's the tool that's not effective for the job. And it's like learning the right tools. So thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning. I totally appreciate it. Thank you, Candice, for allowing us into your world and sharing it so elegantly. And I feel a level of compassion and understanding and connection. So thank you so much. And again, share this talk with anybody who wants to improve their skills. 6 o'clock in the evening, there'll be another talk. That's West Coast time, or 9 a.m. You can find us. Let me bring that banner up one last time. LoveCoachAcademy.com. You can find out about all of the talks there. That is Scott's site, but we're all on it. And I appreciate you. Have a great day, and thank you for joining us. Thank you for your comments. And like Candice said, if you leave questions in the comments, we'll get back to you. And if you want us to get back to you privately, you can message us privately, and we will answer your questions. Have a great day. Ciao.
Bye.